All right, call the meeting to order at 5 o'clock. Both had the chance to review the minutes of the June 17th meeting?
Yes.
Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, warrants and abatements were signed. New hire, Kelly Cataldo, principal clerk. When did you start? Just this past week?
Yes, Monday.
Monday. Any questions you have for the board?
Nothing yet.
Any questions the board members have for you?
No, I met Kelly last week when I had a sense of payments.
Okay. I'm sure you'll have no issues learning what has to be done, and hopefully this will work out pretty well.
So I need a vote from you,
Yep.
and then it goes over to,
The selectmen, selectmen still haven't finalized.
right, because they're
Okay.
only meeting once this month.
Kind of like us.
Busy schedule? Not us, I mean them. Don't smirk.
You're making a motion to hire, a motion to ratify employment?
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No. All right. James,
Hi.
you're on.
All right. So a couple updates. I guess we'll start with the big one, which is Manly. So I'm sure you're all aware that we had our first appearance of PFAS in the effluent from that new filter vessel. I think it's a bit surprising to all of us to see it even at low levels. So we've been spending some time over the last week kind of coming up with every possible cause of that, trying to assign a probability, and then what are we going to do about each of those. And unfortunately, we kind of have to wait for a little bit more data to have any firm, I guess, explanation. But what I think we would say is that of all the things that could be causing it, the fact that the media is completely spent or is close to being spent is probably the least likely at this point. So, it isn't impossible that we're using up media life at an accelerated rate, but we've processed less than 15,000 bed volumes. So that would be like record-settingly fast. Like there's no data in any project we've seen where anyone's seen breakthrough that fast. So to us, we can't rule it out based on anecdotal evidence, but to us, it points that some of these other things that could be causing it, warrant investigation right away. So kind of the first most important thing was to get a confirmatory sample. So I think the next day after talking with Wayne, he pulled that sample and we have to just see the results. So kind of putting it in context, there were 3 different components that hit, 2 of which are regulated, and they were both within a part per trillion of the detection limit. So that means the resolution of the tests that exist, the best technology we have to determine if there's PFAS enough or not is 2 parts per trillion, and we are less than a part per trillion above that. So in terms of how much of this chemical we have, it is incredibly low. And it is within a margin of error of the testing. We are not here today telling you that this means there's not PFAS there. It just means at those levels, it's very hard to make any sort of deduction. Not only that, with a single data point, we can't trend it. So we have to take it very seriously that it's present, but at this point, we don't have any reason to believe that this next sample all of a sudden is going to be panic-inducing. So there are, I think, a couple different things we're planning to do. So the first approach is just the data validity. So making sure that we're taking that confirmatory sample, make sure it comes back with the same amount. We're also doing some mass balance equations to see, we know that the raw water PFAS was higher recently in the driveway well than we saw 2 years ago when we were doing the plannings, but we're trying to quantify how much that is, mostly because we don't think it's enough of an increase to warrant a complete depletion of media. But it's our due diligence to show how much, we know how many bed volumes have gone through, but depending on the individual pumping rates and the individual raw water PFAS concentrations in each of the wells, we can calculate how much actual PFAS has gone through that filter. And that is going to help us kind of put a similar to the life of the media. And then also just working with Wayne on our sampling procedures. We would have you sample everything every day, but we understand it's expensive. So we'd have to kind of work with, Wayne and the board to figure out, the most cost-effective way to stay, aggressive and proactive, while realizing, our finger's not on the panic button yet. So, I sent Wayne a rather long email last week, just kind of to let him know all the things we have going on, all the things we're looking at. And unfortunately, there's a lot we are asking of Wayne. So, we'll have to work with him to figure out, within, his time frame, what he can do.
In the tank design, the 3 taps, there's no lateral coming across, correct?
So there's internal piping so that on the inside of the vessel,
Yeah.
those taps are at the correct, horizon of
All right,
media.
so there's something in there, because they don't come clean, and our feeling is when we look at the green sands, that it's pretty much like short-circuiting straight down into it, whatever it is. We have a hard time getting the taps to come clear. I can pull a test. The email's actually ready to go for me to order the sample bottles.
Yeah, I think we should pull the test and see what comes out
See
of
what
it.
happens.
Like I said, we did modify that internal plumbing
Yeah.
when we did this project, so it should.
So you're not pulling from right along the edge of the wall or something where you might see something going right here. You're pulling from inside the middle of the bed?
I don't know.
Distributed?
We'll have to look. I don't recall exactly what that looked like. I wasn't there the day we put them in. So one of the things we are doing is pulling our records from startup and from construction, so that when we do our visual inspection, that's another item we have on our to-do list. We can try to make sure that the vessel, when it was repurposed, is doing its job, right? Because it's not a PFAS vessel. We took another vessel, did some modifications, and put some media in it. And so it wouldn't be, wildly unexpected if there's some sort of configuration causing short-circuiting or channeling, which is why we're seeing PFAS. And that would, and then we have a variety of things we can do about it. The most, clear cut would be a potential backwash, reset the bed, take a look at our programming and make sure that, when we have our valves opening and closing during backwashes, we're not inadvertently stirring things up. So making sure we have, we go back into the programming and see if we need to add delay for valves opening based on when valves are closing. So these are all the things, we're kind of looking at right now is, is there something with the vessel configuration that's causing essentially the influent to get through the vessel with not enough contact time to get removal. So, that's one of the, big things we're chasing down. And so Wayne's going to be monitoring pressures for us. That will help to see if, give us any indication if there's issues going through the media itself. If the pressures are too low, then that means the forward flow is going through the vessels quick. So, that's kind of one of our leading points of investigation right now is, is there something causing short circuiting in that vessel? And then there's just the water chemistry. I think it's no surprise that the green sand media is getting old. There have been times we've had to turn down the plant because the influent iron and manganese were causing, issues. If for some reason the green sand isn't operating well right now, if it's getting poor performance, that will absolutely impact our PFAS performance. So that's another thing we have to, rule out as part of our, our fact-finding mission is, is there something in the water quality today that's interfering with the media's ability to treat PFAS, or are we using up or impacting our performance by putting too much, iron and manganese to it? And then the last piece is that, the media is being spent at an alarmingly fast rate, which means it's a poor application for this site, and that opens up a whole nother
Can of worms
can of
with
worms.
the next job.
So, there are 2 points, of urgency from our perspective, and I'm sure a third from yours just being you want to understand the issues so you can communicate it to any interested parties. But from our perspective, we need to have a handle on if we are going to see increasing levels that start to approach, an action or DEP interest, right? So if we start getting above, 10 or 15 parts per trillion, then we have to start understanding like we could be heading towards a non-compliance if the new full-scale plan isn't up before that happens. In which case, what do we want to do short-term to stay in compliance? Media swap out. If we've lost confidence in this media, then we may have to, try to do either full-scale or pilot testing of ion exchange, right? So that was one of the, things we looked at was, since we didn't do a full-blown pilot, we had in our back pocket that if for some reason the media life wasn't appropriate for the fluorosorb, that the backup plan was ion exchange, and it would require, the vessels would be appropriately sized, and our design as is would be usable, with the exception we'd have to work out a dechlorination step and, confirm 4-log removal, because the ion exchange is less resilient to free chlorine moving through the media and actually, melt it. Other things that could be happening inside of the vessel, it could be, fouling of the media. Again, it could be, a biofilm, which I think we feel is probably not the case here. We have anecdotally heard a lot of places with PFAS vessels are experiencing this biofilm growth, but where we are carrying our chlorine at, I think, 1.8 as our residual, we believe that would make it very unlikely that we're already forming any sort of biogrowth in there, but we're essentially chasing down every lead we have at this point.
So it doesn't come out of the green sand at 1.8. We, on our effluent, we push in chlorine. So out of the green sand, it typically before we began this, it came out about 0.03.
Okay, but for what we told DEP for 4-log,
Yes, so once it, on the way out of the plant, it goes into the green sand filters carrying a very high residual. When it comes out of the green sand, it comes out low. It's eaten up in the green sand.
alright, so you and I should connect on what those numbers look like, because that could change what we're looking at.
Could that affect the level of the PFAS for the high concentration?
If you get the biofilter.
I mean, if you're, again, I would hope that we're not accumulating in 5 months of use of biofilm already. And so I still think it's unlikely, but it does change our, our chemistry. We're looking at everything coming out of the PFAS and everything that's going into the treatment plant. And at some point, we're going to need, full board water chemistry of what it looks like coming off the existing filters before it comes to us. It's another, unfortunate burden we're putting on Wayne is to take that, that sample here, just so we can see. And chlorine is one piece of the equation. I don't think it's the most important, but understanding exactly what's going into our vessel and then comparing that to what's coming out is just going to help us remove variables. We did have a call with the manufacturer. If we kind of pivot to the long-term view again, they will be submitting a shop drawing in the not distant future that will include a guarantee that their media life is going to exceed 1 year, right? So when we put this project out for bid, one of the requirements for the media is that based on our specific water quality, and we included water quality in our specifications from this plan, was that it needed to be non-detect for PFAS for a minimum of 1 year. Otherwise, there are ramifications to the vendor. So they have skin in the game, which wasn't necessarily the case when we threw together, the demonstration study, right? It's a pilot inherently, there's risk. So, they are going to be an interested party as we go through, and I think a good resource for us to use their chemists and use, their modeling to say, why do they think, we're seeing breakthrough if it's not their media? So, we're gonna, kind of lean on them. So we did have a call with them last week, right when this all was happening. Some of their feedback made it into our, kind of the approach we outlined to Wayne. They were almost like, come back to us in a month when we have more data, and we have to explain to them, well, we don't.
Yeah, but our numbers could be going up.
Yeah, they could be, right? I mean, the month before, all the regulated PFAS were 0. We had one J indicator, and all that means is that there could have been something in there, and they estimated a value that's below the detection level, so for all intents and purposes, it's non-detect. But they technically saw a hint that something was there. So if it would never go to DEP as being part of your, PFAS 6 and impact your compliance. But, that was our first indicator. So, it didn't go from the first sign to like 10, right? So it went from the first sign to to a couple more components being just above the, detection limit. So, without another data point, there's no reason for us to think, next month all of a sudden we're going to be in trouble where we have high levels of PFAS, where the public is going to be concerned and we're concerned. But that's why we took another sample right away, just to confirm that that's the case.
Well, that's one thing, because once people start hearing about this and talking about it, we're not seeing PFAS at levels that are reportable, or any kind of an issue as far as the levels that they're trying to control. All we're doing is we're seeing a little bit of something coming through that we should be able to hopefully adjust something and get it back down to 0. But it's not back to what was going on before.
No. I mean, we're still
at the
seeing
plant.
incredible removal, right? So we mentioned at the beginning, we actually had higher levels in the raw water than we've seen, and the levels coming out right now are barely detectable. So, when we're talking about grand scheme of things, it's like I always say, a grain of sand in an Olympic-sized pool, right? And we're at the point where we can't even detect it as a piece, we just barely detect if it's a piece of sand or not. So in terms
unfortunately, the
of
state has a difference of opinion on it, with the DEP about the 4 range or whatever. I get what you're saying. I'm concerned about maybe the internal piping arrangement on the vessel itself. Is it do we have pressure gauges like on the inlet and the outlet so we could somewhat determine if there is a pressure?
We do now.
Yeah, so we were previously relying on the effluent pressure off the existing grain sand, because that essentially was our inlet pressure to our vessel.
Yep.
And then the pressure leaving the plant, right? And the differential there would be our PFAS and then the piping itself. But just to eliminate that variable of what pressure are we losing through the pipe, Wayne was kind enough to give us vessels directly on the inlet and the outlet, so there can be no question as to whether we're accurately estimating the pressure drop after the vessel before it goes out to the system. So we, again, on the trend of making Wayne's life harder, we put together a data sheet of a couple points where we want the flow measured and a couple points where we want the pressure, and we're hoping that when Wayne or his staff were at the treatment plant doing their normal rounds, they'll fill out that sheet when they're there. So we can start to not only get a picture of what it looks like over the course of time, because every data point we have right now is a single point, which is very hard to draw conclusions from. But are we seeing an increase in pressure over time? Because that would indicate, that there's something building up in the vessel. If the pressure stays solid at where it is, then that's another point of reference. And then, like you said, just lots of water quality data. And unfortunately, it's going to be plotting PFAS over time to see, is it going up? It could go back down to non-detect next month for all we know. There's just, no way to know until we have the data. And unfortunately, it's an expensive test, and it takes them 3 weeks to turn around results.
Well, I was just going to ask, what's the turnaround for getting the second one back?
So it's about 3 weeks. So I just ordered for the 3 side caps just now, so they'll be in tomorrow. We'll pull those samples. Today is Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
And then 3 weeks from Wednesday, we'll have the confirmation.
Yeah, we should.
But I mean, you took a sample last Thursday, right? Last Wednesday?
Yeah,
So that one will come back even sooner. And that was just a straight, you know, confirmation on the effluent,
Yeah.
what's coming out of the plant.
Any other questions on this part right here?
No?
No.
Until we have more information.
All right.
Yeah.
So, well, I mean, I'll come back.
Do have one, when you had mentioned about the 1-year guarantee, is the levels that were being used for the water quality, does that include the higher levels we've been seeing, or is that the older levels from the pilot?
So I do believe it was, we had somewhat recent water quality where the level was, it may not have been like the 40.7 we just saw, but it was close enough that on a mass balance, and that's part of why we're doing the math, is to prove that that's the case. That, you know, the mass balance hasn't changed from the assumptions we made when we selected. But the media supplier we sent them these results, so they have them today, and we have not received the guarantee today. So our point of view would be, they'll be held to these water quality standards at the time that the guarantee goes into place. If they have issue with that, then they'll have to bring it up.
Okay.
I don't suspect that'll be the case. Like I said, they were a touch dismissive when we were like, you need to get on a call with us within 24 hours. And they're like, at these levels, what's the rush? Like,
Yeah.
because we owe people answers.
Right.
So, again, once we got them on the phone, they reiterated, we're at your disposal, whatever you need from us. Because they want to make sure it works too before they get.
Well, in best case, it's just something with the vessel that we didn't foresee when setting it up to run it, and something that can either be corrected or definitely corrected for the permanent setup.
Yeah, so I mean, that's the thing, right? It's like our long-term is specifically designed for this media or ion exchange. It won't have any of the, unknowns of repurposing a different vessel. But for us, it's, twofold. We want to make sure we have confidence in the media when we put it in on day one. You don't want to have to call the company on their performance guarantee to fix it. You want to put the right thing in on day one. But also, we're probably a year plus putting that online, and we don't want to be in a situation where, we're approaching levels that we are concerned about before that goes online, because then that's potentially added expense for a temporary solution, and those costs are always the hardest to swallow, right? It's the ones we don't see in a rate of return on your investment. It's just a rental fee, and then it's thrown away.
Mm-hmm.
So we just want to make sure we're not heading to that point.
Amen.
So I guess our next step, while we're waiting on the data to come in, is we're going to coordinate with Wayne a time when he can take the vessel offline when it's not a complete headache. So so we can open it up, take a look. We're going to be looking to make sure that the amount of media that's in there is the correct amount. We haven't lost any volume of media somehow. We'll be looking for any signs of channeling or rat holing. It have to be pretty extreme for us to be able to see it. But if the bed is at all, misformed,
Yeah.
that would be a pretty good indication that we need to do a backwash, reset it, and look into how that happened and how we prevent it. Then the media companies have the impression that we could do a backwash and it won't hurt anything. So if we get this round of sampling done and we looked at it, we have enough data. We don't want to go and mix things up and just put another variable in while we're still trending data. But if we get to a point where we feel like the trend is stabilized and we have the info we have, we could, with Wayne's assistance, do a backwash. Again, it's a headache, but it would reset the bed, eliminating channeling. We have had in another community where they backwashed initially, and they had a pressure spike, and they went back and they backwashed, and there was still fines. And so the initial rinsing of the media wasn't sufficient to get the fines out, and they saw poor performance as a result of that. So that's, the same media, a different place, an issue where they saw performance issues, before they would have expected it. And then they resolved that, and the media lasted, I don't know, I think 13 months beyond that before they saw the breakthrough again. So, that's something we're looking into. We don't want to reset the bed now and then have to start all of our trends all over again because we added a variable, but that's in our back pocket too. But
you're gonna try to do the visual before then.
we need to do the visual first. We need to pull our 1, 2, 3 samples to see if we're seeing any difference in PFAS at different levels. That will tell us something, if it's the same everywhere, then it's not this, case where the first media is being spent and that your, we call it your zone of mass, your mass balance zone, typically it shifts through the media over time. So that's why we have those 3 reports, and we sample, we'll see if we're seeing any gradient yet. A gradient would mean that media is being spent. After 5 months, there could, we wouldn't panic if there's a slight variation at this point. But we want to have all the data, and once we're comfortable we have enough to trend things, then we can do a backwash, reset the bed, and see if that addresses the issue. But this is all kind of happening while we're waiting for PFAS data.
Yeah, the 3-week lead time doesn't help.
No.
And do they not even rush it, or is it too expensive to rush it?
And the last time I tried to rush it, they didn't respond to me, so.
Yeah. If I thought I recalled something like that, that's just they're so overloaded
No,
as it is.
you can't even park, there's no parking when you get to that lab. They're like sardined into the place.
Well, hopefully we'll come up with a magic bullet,
Yep.
press the button, and it'll start working away again.
Yeah, nothing's been easy, so why would it start now, right? So we're on top of it. Like I said, it's got our full attention, and as data comes in, we'll figure it out. But we don't think there's any reason at this point to jump to the conclusion the media doesn't work and that it's spent. Just think it'd be premature to assume that when there's so much data out there that shows that shouldn't be the case.
How long will you need to shut it down to do the visual?
I mean, it's just long enough so that we can drain it down to just below the surface level. So logistically, I'd have to kind of rely on Wayne.
It could be done in a day, it takes time to drain it. And we could start early in the day. There's not too many drain points on the thing. And we've got the sample taps, and that's about it, I think.
Well, thinking in terms of how long you'd have to have the station offline, considering it's summertime and it's hot, and how long you're going to be able to live with.
I wore my sweater today.
I did not.
No, yeah, I think we can do it.
All right.
It's worth doing it.
Oh yeah, we need to do it. It's
Right.
just, of course it comes up when we're having strings of 90-degree weather.
Yeah.
We like to keep everything running if you can.
Yeah. So, like we said, we don't want to sit back and do nothing, but we have time to work it in so that it makes sense to do it, and not pull the fire alarm and do it tonight because we're panicked. It's not, we're not there.
Let's hope we don't get to that point.
No, we're sort of being proactive, so we won't get to the panic point. We'll always have control and plan of attack all the way through until there's a solution.
All right.
So I guess also on PFAS, we're trying to set up a pre-construction conference. The team has reached out to the contractor. I don't think we have their full attention yet in terms of them dropping everything to respond to our emails and give us a date for pre-con. With this kind of happening, we're not in a rush to approve a media shop drawing anyway. So the notice to proceed has been signed. They're on the clock. If it gets to a point where weeks go by, we'll start to, be aggressive with them in terms of getting started. I guess, who should we invite on your end to the pre-construction? Obviously, Wayne, we'd ask you to be present, but, where it's completely off the public way, we're unlikely to cause traffic issues. I don't, like when we did this project, for example, I
Right.
don't think we worried about the highway department, school, school bus routes. None of that jumps out as, being a big deal on this one.
No, that's,
But if there's anyone you think we should invite, or anyone who, more importantly, if there's anyone you think would be offended that they weren't invited, let us know. So you don't have to, I'm not putting you on the spot today, just think about it and let us know between now and.
I,
You can always invite them, and they're probably not gonna show up anyway,
right.
would be my guess. But
Who's that?
just
Anybody?
invite the various people, and if they don't think they really care about it, they're just not gonna show up, and then you don't have to worry about it. Because, it's not really, it's a major road, your traffic, you're not gonna affect the traffic by
No, we
what you're
don't.
bringing into there.
We have plenty of space on site.
Yeah.
Really, the one they need to talk to is Wayne to make sure they don't make his life a shoulder instruction. He's the one who's gonna be interrupted.
Late October to back online in April.
Now, have they been sending any submittals in yet?
So that's
So you've
more.
got basically nothing coming in.
Right, so they worked with us to get the project awarded on that quick turnaround.
Yeah.
We had some back and forth, the initial insurance they sent didn't match the spec, so we had some back and forth. And they were timely enough on that to get it all sorted before the DEP deadline. So to their credit, like when we needed them to, they did what they had to do.
So they just need a little pushing every once in a while to
Yeah, I
push
just
things
think
along.
they must have a project they're wrapping up at the moment, so they're not, pushing us to get on site. That being said, we sent them a note saying, we need, an indication of your longest lead items.
Yeah.
We want to get shop drawings for those, and we need to know dates you're available for pre-con. That's kind of what, once we got the DEP piece done, that's what we kind of pushed with. Right now, we're seeing some crazy lead times, and I don't think this project is impacted as Sierra Norman could be. But we're being quoted pad generators at 2.5 year turnaround.
The transformers are taking forever, I guess.
Yeah, so, we're suspecting we may need one up there, so that's gonna be something, we normally wouldn't worry about at 50% design, but for this project, we're gonna be, worrying about it at 50% design and seeing what, if anything, we need to do to prepare for that. But like other items like VFDs, you saw well 4 or 5, we had brand new wells that sat there for a year waiting on VFDs, so we want to make sure that they're on top of any lead items on this project. So we don't have a PFAS system sitting there waiting on parts. It's happening on every job across the country right now, but try to do our best to mitigate it. So I guess that's all I have on Manly. Any questions on that?
Nope, no.
Okay. So our other big fun push is, Sierra Norman. So we submitted what we're calling our preliminary design package. So we got some feedback from Wayne. I guess just some, big picture items. So I think there were 2 questions you had. I don't know if you want to go through them now, but one, you were asking about reusing the cross-country line.
Yeah.
And the reason we went away from it was because, I don't remember the year, it was like 1957 AC pipe. And our concern is that we relied on that as a critical component and it breaks under the swamp, that it's not going to be like a quick fix to get it back online. Whereas at least now it's a little extra pipe, but we're running essentially new line from Norman up to the corner store. And we are using a piece of older cast iron, but in reality, if that cast iron pipe broke, it's in the public right of way, it's accessible, and so you wouldn't be losing that well, as long as it was AC.
So the AC pipe doesn't run through the swamp. It's it's out of the swamp.
It is out of the swamp, yes.
Yep.
It kind of skirts along,
Yeah.
it's kind of behind that last house.
Yep, and then it comes up through a hill under the high lines. What you probably don't know is that if you open up the street, they're gonna request that you infrared everything you open up. So if you dig, do ductile main down the street, they're gonna force you to either repave the street or infrared it. So that would require either the commissioners to ask them to waive that, or, because that's an expensive cost.
I think we have to do some work in the road either way, because we have pipe going both ways, right?
Right, I think you're running a new 12-inch ductile down Norman Ave.
Because anything in Norman Ave is AC also.
Right, yep, at that period of time, it was cheap and,
You're not the only one, man, I get it.
no,
Yes, AC pipe everywhere, we just try to avoid it wherever we can.
yeah,
So, I mean, we can certainly, look at it, price it out both ways for you, and then you can give us the final non-way, one way or another, but just in terms of answering why we opted for new main, it was to
right,
avoid having to, because the other issue is like, even just pairing up to an AC pipe,
it's not,
right, you don't get to that point, you'll try to saw cut the AC pipe to get a clean connection.
There's not a good
And hope it
transition
doesn't
between those.
collapse while you're connecting, right?
Well,
So-
if we have additional data on, like you said, what the difference, the cost might be,
Yeah.
a little bit of more information on why, we can go, we ask for a waiver, it gives us a little bit more backup.
Okay.
As to, look, we're doing this for a reason, not just, we don't just want to tear up the road. And possibly it's fun. Maybe a few years out, maybe you can get something squared away to redo that road anyway.
Right.
But
That
it's part of the
should be
revenue.
easy, because we at one point did a cost benefit analysis for you guys to see if directionally drilling a pipe was gonna work out, and that came back crazy expensive.
On
So-
Hatfield Street?
No, so essentially,
Oh, through
instead
the
of,
swamp, through the back area?
yeah, a lot, I think, going from that sandy, so if you're
Yeah.
standing at the end of, Norman Ave and the well's up on your left, you see a sandy area
Yeah.
down. We were looking at putting a pit in there and then doing a directional drill, because you have to go under the electric easement too, right?
yes,
Because we had to figure out if we needed to survey all of that or not. So between the surveying and the directional drill, it was gonna be cost prohibitive, which is why we ended up getting a survey of this area instead of sending a surveyor out into the swamp shooting elevations. And then the other issue is if, such a long sweep that if you hit a boulder 300 feet out and you're starting a whole new bore, and so your potential for change order is pretty high too. So we had taken a cursory look at that back before we ordered the survey. So I guess what I'm getting at is we have some cost data for that alignment already, so it should be pretty easy for us to update it, assume infrared. My guess is we priced out full lane
yeah,
reclaim. So instead of a trench, usually we try to keep all of our disturbance on one half of the road. And then we repave essentially from the center line to the curb. Just because most places are requiring that anyway, so it's usually our default price assumption. But in this case, where I wouldn't say Mickey Mouse, everything has thought put to it, but where we have 3 different parallel lines in that one spot, and we're connecting here for this one, here for this one, here for that one, we probably aren't on one side of the road, so I'll have to take a look at that. Like I said, I have the cost data, so it should be easy to make the case, and then we can decide one way or another. Right, like 50% design. And then I guess the other piece was the electric. Point taken, I don't have an answer on that until we get the electrical engineer.
Right.
It's not a heavy electrical load out there, but at the same time, I would be a little surprised if we didn't need a new dedicated service for that building, but we put it on our list to bring up at our first kind of kickoff meeting with the electrical engineer. We haven't really gotten any subs going at this point because, our first step is preliminary engineering, make sure we all agree on where it should be going, the general size and layout of the building is kind of, what we want to get done before we have subs start doing work, because, our subs like to charge us more money if we change our mind halfway through things.
Yeah.
So, with, getting them engaged is kind of one of our next steps here. So we'll bring up your concern and see if there's any way, we can accommodate that.
I'm trying to prevent having to put a new service in.
well, no, you pay a demand charge for large electrical motors, where you have the air target, so that brings up another, but the air tower, and then you're gonna have pumps because you're gonna drop down.
Yeah, right.
So there's a couple of motors in there. I mean, it's not the worst thing if it has to happen. The air tower. So we know from East Bridgewater, who has one, that it drops out, it's like elephant dung coming down underneath of it. So that there'd be enough room in there for us to work in it to clean it out.
Okay.
Get that?
Well, it drops the iron and manganese out as it's running up through. So it has a tendency to clog.
Collect at the bottom.
They collectively let it go further than they should have before they did their first maintenance.
This was East Bridgewater?
Yes.
So you're just looking for something to make it easier to be able to get.
Well,
in
to
there
make sure
and
that we
clean
can
it
get
up.
around it to clean it out, yeah. That and it has, we know it's noisy.
Yeah.
There's not much you can do about the noise on those though.
Right.
Okay, noted.
After we looked into it, we kind of need.
Yeah,
one of
no,
those.
it's
Yeah, it's a definite.
it's a definite cost savings.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And then, did you have a chance to look at the plans?
I did look at the plans, I had the guys look at the plans, they haven't seen the plans, I just had to re-find them, I did find them.
This place looks a lot different from very recently when
Yes, they just threw all my
they were
stuff
doing
out.
all the ADA work out there and everything was just piled up in the room here.
So I do have them, they can look at them.
When you looked at them, and the guys, did you see anything that jumped out at you?
Other than the air tower thing, that was about it.
Okay. Yeah, so we're just looking to make sure we're, good to
Lost
move
all my
on to
tables.
50%.
Let's stick it right there.
Yeah, I mean, it's preliminary, so there are gonna be, changes.
But things like the buildings can't be, you don't want them getting bigger later on, because after, once the subs start working, like you said, any changes are gonna be.
Yeah, once we get
More.
the structural design going for the foundation, that's when it becomes, I mean, they're gonna expect things to change here and there.
That's the 12 inches talking about?
Yes.
Yeah, but not changing the building configuration.
That's a point of connection.
Yeah,
right
if all of a
there.
sudden you
Right,
want an
major
L-shaped
change.
building with asphalt shingles.
There's the flow diagram. And then this.
Oh, yeah. Cha-ching.
And the lab did get into its own space, so
All right.
we're not standing in the bathroom, pulling samples over the toilet.
Space for different people.
Yeah, so I mean, the main change from the earliest drawing I brought, or maybe the last meeting, was the building has literally been mirrored. And that was just a piping efficiency. You're looking at where the pipes are coming in and out, just
Right,
made
you
more
you
sense.
said that you were gonna do that also.
Yeah, so we did that. Another item just to make you aware of is we just got approval back on the pilot test report, and they shared concerns about the TOC issue. So they've asked us to, in our design, consider resiliency in future consideration of that. So this is hot off the press, and one of the things we gotta figure out now moving towards 50%. I think we all came up with an approach that didn't require MIX treatment. So it's a matter of whether we want to show one of these future areas, calling it future PFAS. Because again, we know we're gonna put in, 2 trains of PFAS treatment eventually, but we were also leaving space for extra PFAS, just like we have at Manly. But depending on how much space would be needed for a MIAC system, we may take the approach of telling DEP this is a future space reserved for future PFAS and/or MIACs. And that might be one way to address that comment, because I don't think we're of the opinion right now we should be putting MIACs in this plan. So that's a new wrinkle that was brought to our attention last week that we're kind of get our head around, and I'll have to come back at a future meeting and say these are, you know, our options, what do you think? But that's the only real, I think, layout change would be, you know, how do we want to handle that? So, you know, in this case, it's just represented this box
Yeah,
here.
that's-
That's the empty space, but yeah.
there's 2 PFAS, so 2 more.
Yeah. So those are both, that's a lead lag vessel here, and then another lead lag vessel here. So you have, you know, as far as we're concerned, full redundancy and adequate treatment.
So the additional space we shouldn't necessarily need for the PFAS.
Right. And we also shouldn't necessarily need it for MIAX
Yeah.
either, to be fair. So it's just a
But
matter
we'll
of.
have the ability just in case.
So we gotta lay out what a potential MIAX system correctly sized would be and see if it neatly fits in here or if we need to just reconfigure or push a wall out, accommodate for it. And if that's the case, we'll say, you know, this is what it's gonna cost to add the flexibility, A or nay. But ultimately, DEP does have to sign off.
Well,
on the
DEP is
design.
going to say we need it, but then you need to know if that building needs to change size now.
Yeah, so that's why
Before they get
it's
going.
for 50%, that's one of our, you know, now that, you know, this is, we call it the preliminary, it's usually about 30%
Yeah.
design. So as we progress to 50%, we owe you another check-in. And again, at 50% design, we expect there are going to be modifications, alterations. You know, it's not, you know, unexpected that things will change. So MIAX will be a part of that next conversation.
It has a cost of operation though, so it's not.
We want to avoid it at all, if at
Right.
all possible.
At some
And-
point, looking at the cost, is it not worth abandoning those 2 wells and move off to a future site that we already have?
Yeah, I think that's a valid point. I think they also agree that it's not an issue today at day one, but in their experience, they've seen these precursors for the disinfection byproducts increase over time. That's their main concern, was what happens in the future if, you know, that does happen. They don't want you to have a plant that's then got compliance issues. So we understand where they're coming from. But in this case, the wells that are having the issue have been there forever, you know, somewhat stabilized in terms of water quality. So you know, we couldn't tell them the risk is 0. We don't think it's, you know, high either.
So just having the ability, or if it came to it down the road, then fine. We have the ability to do that, or we switch to a different source without the problem.
Yeah.
Right, because as we know, with, you know, Manley Street, once that's up and running with PFAS, and then this one is up and running with iron and manganese treatment and PFAS, you're going to have a lot of flexibility in terms of your, you know, demand. We would only ever have to turn that well on if Manley was down, and just to exercise it once in a while. So it's, you know, you could never use it again. I hesitate to say that and put it out in the universe.
Well, you can run it to waste to get to exercise. You don't have
could
to,
absolutely do that.
so they don't say anything
Right.
potential going through the plant unless we have to.
Yeah.
I've been here 19 years and we really haven't ever been able to use it.
So, like I said, we have a plan of attack, but it just, like I said, just came across our desk last week. It's very much still a, you know, work in progress as we figure out the best way to present it to DEP and, you know, address it in a way that doesn't waste funds.
Question?
No?
What else you got?
Okay. So in terms of lead service inventory, our sub-consultant has finished their work. I believe last week we wrapped up our review of whatever tie cards were remaining. So you'll probably be hearing from Molly this week in terms of, you know, next steps to see if there's any additional data that you have that you want us to include in the database. But there is still, you know, funding left over. So it might warrant a conversation to see what else we want to do with the funds
So,
there.
yeah, I haven't submitted our cost for our initial postcard send out. We're about to send out again, the postcard set. We just had to wait till next budget year.
Okay.
I also have the setup time and cost. I had Deborah calculate her hours into it.
Okay.
So when I get a moment, I'll forward those into you.
Yeah, perfect. And then I think Molly coordinates with you each month on the reimbursement.
Right.
So when she has that, she'll just roll it into the next one we do. But
And if we were under on the money, can't use that for anything else. Right? That funding
No,
only can be used.
I mean, you could do it for other lead service line type work. You could do test pits, you could do home inspections, you can do boots on the ground stuff with funding.
But it has to only be stuff to do with the lead,
Yeah.
which we know we don't have an awful lot of.
Right.
Another item that I admittedly am unprepared for tonight, and I apologize for that, is the rate study piece. So after our last meeting, we took the information Carrie gave us, we got that in and updated it, but we have not finished the analysis of reducing the customer burden based on the ability of, the availability of some of the other funding sources, so ARPA and the principal forgiveness. We had reached out very soon after I was here to DEP, looking if they would looking into whether they could give us any update on whether the principal forgiveness was going to be the bare minimum or if there's something more. And we haven't heard back, and then we haven't really followed up with them again. So if by the next meeting we still haven't heard from DEP, we'll run the analysis assuming the lowest principal forgiveness, and just know that that would be worst case scenario in terms of funding relief, and then I can bring that updated rate study. So I apologize for not doing that in time for tonight. That's still on our radar. And then I think the tank, we're just waiting for the dust to settle on everything else. Right?
Yeah, I think there's enough going on with the others right now. You haven't, tank's been,
We're carrying a residual because those people up there are running their sprinklers like crazy, so we're not having a problem with residual.
getting some turnover in the tank.
Yeah.
The other item I have is the SRF application. Pre-applications are due July 26th. So we're submitting one for PFAS treatment for Sierra Norman. I think that we talked about as our overall strategy. So we'll put in for that so that we can have a third year in a row where we have an October deadline to meet for DEP in terms of design and all that fun stuff. And then at the same time, I don't know if you're interested, but you could go for the asset management grant. If you recall, that rate study came out of an asset management report. We haven't had the funds to do any of the recommended system improvements. It's all been focused on source management and treatment to date. But one of the requirements for the DEP approval was an asset management update. So I didn't know if you wanted us to just throw in an application and see if you get kind of some funding with that, because at some point down the line, DEP is going to be looking for an updated asset management. So it would be no cost to you for us to do the application.
And they will have funding potentially this year, but maybe that could end in another year as well. Right? So if we don't jump on it now and try to get the funding out of it, that funding program might not be available.
I guess you have nothing to lose.
Nothing to lose.
We do those applications as a courtesy to our clients. So
May I have a motion for
So moved.
Taylor?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
all right, so we'll get both of those in. I think the deadline's next Friday, so we'll hop on that.
DEP's happy with you about all this stuff, pretty much. Right
What's
now.
that?
DEP's happy with you for all this stuff so far?
Yeah. Yep. I think everyone's happy. We did, just so you know, give DEP a heads up about Manly, just to we didn't want them to look at the results and start to draw conclusions, so we were just proactive and said, you know, you get all of these results, just want you to know that, you know, we are seeing very low levels, and, you know, this is what we're doing about it. And he said, okay, keep us posted. So,
Perfect.
Yeah, it doesn't help to try to keep something under wraps.
Right.
no, I mean, we're doing all the right things. You
Yeah.
have all along, so there's no reason not to just, you know, especially Jim has been, you know, reasonable. It's been fair. So,
All right. Unless you have something else you want to tell us about, you
I
can
think that's
hit the
fine.
road and
All right, well, thanks for your time. Appreciate it.
Thanks
as
a lot.
always.
See you next week.
Yeah, when's yours again?
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
So it's at the 19th, 29th.
No, it's actually August 5th.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
that first and third Monday.
How long you
That
been on
should
this
be
board?
okay.
Apparently not long enough. I don't know, the amount of money that's been spent the past year and a couple of months is.
Okay, so unless I hear
That's all
otherwise,
you.
I'll plan to attend August 5th?
Yeah,
Okay,
please.
very good.
It'd be helpful to, we have the water rate thing by then if you can.
Yeah, and I'll send that in advance so you can digest it before. Like I said, we were kind of holding off here from DEP, and then last week we were preoccupied with other things. So, yeah, it's on our radar, we'll take care of it.
Very good.
All right, thank you, have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
All right, let's see, where are we at? 506 West Center Street.
That's the Shell station.
Yes.
So, I mean, when you asked for things to be on there, I just added it in. They're gonna rip it down. They're gonna rip down the canopy of the building and put up a new building. I have the plans if you wanna see it. It's pretty much just a bigger building going in, set back a little further. The gas pumps will pretty much be in the same spot again.
They're not, yeah, so they're not changing the pumps and the tanks, this is just the building?
They're not changing the tanks, it's just the building. They are changing the pumps.
Yeah, those tanks aren't that old.
No, because they
No,
just
right.
redid
They were
them, I
contaminated,
think, either before the pandemic, during it. It
Right
was-
around there, yeah.
Yeah, that's why it was weird that they ripped the whole thing down and start over again.
But the building's original.
Now, are they going for a variance through the, for the Act Protection District? Or
I'm not sure whether
the
they're,
planning board?
they sit right on the edge of it. I'm not sure that they're actually in it.
That's right, because that has it kind of pins,
Yeah, if you look
tightens up together. That's the shield, that's the bottom one.
Or that's the car wash. That's the car wash.
How can they not be in that district when they mainly be just,
This is,
not that
I
far
don't know.
away?
That might be, does it say, application for demolition, legal non-conforming gas leaks, building gas station, non-conforming uses special permit, non-conforming status. I get to make a mess again.
It's always me. No, they're saying it's in the zone too.
All right.
So that's, so the special permit, okay, so they're calling it out for the special permit being through the planning board. And then they want the demolition permit to go through the ZBA. Or planning, well, just after that happened with the other one, make sure we get,
Right.
know when we have to get comments to who,
We never lost any.
as far as what gets.
So it looks like they're gonna move the building back on the lot.
Back. Back. They're gonna get rid of the car wash?
Yeah, the car wash, that's no longer, it has been functional for, I forget how long now.
Also, it is a new one, all right.
Yeah.
So I'm moving it from where the car wash is.
Yep.
Actually, no, it's not that far back, is it?
Well, what was this? This
Uh,
detention pond.
That's the detention pond.
Yeah.
existing condition?
Yeah.
We will meet and go for a bike ride. Convenient place in the highway.
It is very convenient.
They're not changing anything for us one at a time.
Well, I said, they probably, it's the same use as far as we're concerned, as long as if they're expanding anything for pavement and all, they're doing the stormwater right. The planning board will pick that up. They should have existing conditions.
Well, they do, but they also show, so, so they do have the existing conditions.
Yep. Yeah, because the car wash is off to the side.
Yeah.
Yeah, they bought that parcel.
Yeah.
Parcel A, they bought that as part of the deal with that Lincoln Street warehouse. So I think that's how they're pushing back further.
Oh, they bought parcel A?
But they're not, but it's not coming back inside a parcel A. though.
No.
No.
No, the building's still staying
It's the
on the
I
elevation.
think their retention
Gotta be
ponds are going
significant.
back.
Yeah, there, yeah. It dropped off quite a bit,
Can't
almost
see the
20 or
numbers.
30 feet.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it's quite a distance.
Yeah, so we'll be getting rid of the old detention pond. They did show a new detention pond down in the back, that'll probably be in, what's it going in on parcel A? Do we have a schedule on anything on when it's gonna be for planning board?
Not it says there. Not sure if I've seen anything come through yet. Let's see, what's the planning board? CBA,
Phobia.
so they're before the planning board.
Public hearing is. Okay, we're gonna be August 7th at the planning board. Which we have a meeting before.
Monday before,
Yeah,
2 days before.
right.
That's our next meeting.
That's the 7th.
I mean, they exist already, they're removing the car wash.
Yeah, I don't have any serious issues with it, not on the surface, but
Right.
I'd like to start keeping a little better track, because we've been surprised with some of these things that go through, whether it's the
Yeah.
CBA or the planning board at the last minute.
Yeah, but the big thing with the fuel tanks, and those aren't,
No, I mean, for what they're doing there,
Yeah.
they said it's not new.
Is there a sprinkler system water or foam?
I want to say they use foam.
Yeah.
Well, not the PFAS, whatever that powder is that comes
Yeah.
shooting out.
That supposedly isn't got any of that in it.
Right.
So we're just looking at a domestic line.
Yeah, there won't be any sprinkler system in there.
Okay, MJM.
Well, it depends upon, it's hard to keep track of what he's doing. He's a
Yeah.
businessman trying to, I don't know if he has 1, 2, or 3 things going on in there.
I was there the other day for inspection.
Which one, down by the post
MJM, the one
office?
just before the post office. So he's got gas oil containment, and he's got some plumbing in there.
So is that,
There we go.
yeah, that's what this is.
Yeah, he's got an MDC tank over here trapped, and he's got just a trench drain. So is that's gotta be out of the, actually 50-foot buffer zone.
Okay, and that's another one that's on August 7th at the planning board.
And I thought they've already requested him to have, wherever he's parking or whatever, he has to have, impervious paved surfaces.
Yeah, so we're not having stuff parked on gravel to leak down
Yeah.
to get into the aquifer.
What's he going in front of the plant?
that's-
He's already got a building constructed.
Oh, yeah, that's why I don't
It's already
understand.
up. He's already up and running. Well, I mean, up at plumbing.
It's up to plumbing.
That's why I don't understand how he's.
Why is he
moved that.
going after the fact?
Was there ever a septic done for that?
I remember.
What
Must have
size, what size lane?
Well, no, I honestly, I don't remember. I don't remember seeing anything on it.
There's a leaching
Cap.
field.
There is.
There is a septic system.
But he's doing a sprinkler line tie-in, right?
No, I
No,
don't
he's-
believe he
no,
is
he's
either.
not big enough.
No.
I don't remember a tight tank for that.
He's doing a 2-inch water line, that's it.
That's
Wow.
Board of Health Control, tight tank. Because they're going through an MDC and then they're going into the tight tank. What number is
Check
that?
with Rob.
I'm gonna text him right
6:30
now.
minutes.
Excuse me?
6:30 minutes.
Thank you.
Yeah, I put August 7th on my calendar, so I'll plan on going to that planning board meeting either way. But maybe at the next meeting, we could come up with a position on any of these that we should do. I actually remember driving by and seeing the building, thinking, I don't remember anything up in that area.
So he has other numbers though, he's got 684 and 686. He's doing something else in there, I think, further back.
Yeah, further down in the back, right?
I don't remember it being 630, I thought it was like 680 something on the.
Well, no, that's the thing, there's a different project.
Yeah, he's
Down,
But he's right near that retention wall. I mean, he's got a lot of retaining wall there.
yeah, he's going down in behind the solar field.
This is
Yeah.
630 right here.
Yeah, 6:30. And when's that? The August 7th.
630, that's,
That when you enter right by the solar field.
Right,
Down
and I think
behind.
it's out and behind.
okay, the one that I looked at the other day was right up.
Yeah,
right
that's
next
the
to
post
Manley
office,
Street.
that's 686.
686.
Yeah, and, building inspector is making them go to the planning board for a special permit, but I don't know if we have
Well, we don't have a building inspector.
is there a schedule for that?
Like, wait, left.
Oh, no, he did that
Yeah.
before he left.
When did you leave? End of the last one.
That's it, must be.
Last fiscal year.
Friday or?
We could go
Yeah,
Friday.
Fiscal year ended,
Yeah. And I have David Moore as a interim.
temporary.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't see a planning board notice for when they're going ahead of that though. That one, they've got a lot going on down back and it's a similar kind of thing, they're parking stuff back there.
This is like all parking, it's
Yeah.
not, and it's saying proposed gravel area
Yeah, so we might want
with
to
no drainage, no
have a
nothing.
closer look at that for whatever they're gonna do in there.
Yep, and that's what it is, it's all semi-parking.
We don't have a planning board notice for that one.
I thought
That was that, what is that, this one?
that might be that one.
The creek, that one, no, that's gas
That's the
pumps.
gas station.
That's 630 man here.
Alright, that's the plant, that's it then. 630 is it.
But 630 is the other one.
No, that's
686.
686.
686 up front.
Crying out loud.
Yeah,
Okay, that one-
686 is.
That one's August 7th too, so we're
Yeah,
good on all.
686, 684 and 686.
All right.
But he's already. what's
Yes, that building's
It's
there.
already there.
Yeah, that's the building he took apart and put back up.
Oh, from where the
From the other
Yeah,
side.
where the warehouse
is?
is now.
Really?
Yep. Yeah, he pulled it down.
See, I didn't realize I saw it pop up there pretty quick, but I didn't
Yeah.
realize he relocated it. I thought he just
Yeah.
got a new building.
Well, you could tell because all it's, it's dented, it's dinged, it's, it's.
All right, so I'll plan on going to the August 7th planning board because all three of those supposedly are scheduled for that, for
Yeah.
the special permit. And, yeah, that one potentially for parking, making sure that, yeah, there's correct
There's
drainage and
drainage,
there's something
right.
to. Now, is that just a drop off for the trailers? for
No,
parking,
because
or
he
is that-
shows in one
is
of
that
the
the actual
things,
truck?
yeah, he's showing a tractor and trailer.
All right, then we want to talk to them about what they do for that, for what they're parking on.
Right.
Gravel.
So I thought some of it was paved, and stuff. I remember seeing something of this. I thought partly was paved and part of it was gravel. But if these are all spaces, all that's on gravel.
Yeah,
Right.
Well, millings of gravel, but.
right.
And like, if you're parking like this, these trucks, they're sitting there for a long time.
Oh, yeah, when they'll come and wait, they're not just going in and out
Right.
frequently. Yeah, and that's the other solar field down the back.
Yeah.
So is this in the zone too? The zone too?
Yes.
Yeah, this is all, that whole part of the land is in zone two.
We can park unlimited amount of
Look,
diesel storing trucks.
Yeah,
here.
we kind of would like to not do that right on top of the gravel going right over our
But
apple.
on zone two, aren't we limited to like 440 gallons per acre for septic? But you can have 1,000 gallons of diesel. on
Diesel
top of
fuel
it.
isn't regulated under Title V.
Oh my God.
There's a whole other issues.
What can go wrong?
Nothing can go wrong. Could you move those to old business for next meeting, and we'll discuss it, and if you want to vote on a position, and I'll go to the planning board meeting the Wednesday after.
I think we should at least know how many trucks. I mean, he's got
We need to get more
100 truck
detail and
spots.
stuff on
Parking
it.
spots there.
We'll have something formal, and I'll be at the planning board meeting with it.
Is there any, I know there's not a regulation, but is there any, method or something to determine how many trucks you can have per acre like you do with the septic systems, or?
no, that's why they're coming here. It's because they can do
Yeah,
whatever they
there's
want.
nothing, they can basically come in and pack them next to each other, but we can make them, should be able to make them do something because of the aquifer, to at least give us some protection over the.
What is like is there like a state average or something? How many, I mean, just, that number's stuck in my head, 440 gallons per acre of septic. So what would that translate into for?
Nothing,
for
that's,
diesel trucks?
that's just for nitrogen load. That's 440 gallons per acre is how much nitrogen.
And that's
you
far
put
less
in.
of a contaminating factor than.
Well, nitrogen turns babies blue,
Oh.
and does other similar things.
Well, what does this do to drinking water?
Well,
Diesel fuel.
It doesn't do
Nothing
anything
good.
tasty.
But
Gives it a
it's-
sheen.
But it's not regulated that same way, so we can express our concerns to the planning board
And we can say
on
no.
what they can do.
And then what would they do?
We don't control the permit, the planning board controls the permit.
Oh, so they control our drinking water.
They actually do a really good job looking out for the
The
water.
planning board is the special permit authority if the thing's in the water resource district. By the original bylaw, plus that got reinforced at the last town meeting. They actually had that specific vote
Okay.
on changing the wording to make it even clearer.
Right.
So, and yeah, the planning board tends to be pretty good on that stuff. So we'll show our faces at this one. We'll show my face because the two of us go.
No, open meeting.
Then we have to post it as a
Yeah.
meeting. Which, should try to see if we can get a waiver from that somehow, but I know that'll never happen.
No, and then open meeting law violations already.
All right, nothing's come in addition to those, that's it we have for now?
Yeah, the other ones aren't.
Because I've been seeing those coming through,
Yeah.
from Mike White, so we'll see what
Right.
happens now.
Most of the other ones are all small things that don't. Like there's the warehouse going up at 2 United Drive, the old Snell property. That's E.J. Prescott's building.
Oh, yeah.
That's, there was,
But that's warehouse.
right, it's all, most of them are all warehouses.
Yeah.
Not like that.
It's a good thing all this revenue is coming into the town through new taxation. It can help take some of the burden off the ratepayers for the water issues that we have going on.
I think they'll find plenty of other things to do with that money.
No, I think this is a priority. So, just let it out there to the public.
Let the public make the phone calls?
No, now that they're aware, I know that they watch our meetings, and now they can, consider that next time we come up for another few $1 million for PFAS or iron manganese or anything else that's needed to, money to be spent.
We'll see what we can do.
That's it.
We're talking, yeah, we are talking a lot of money, but these things going in. And there's another one, I just saw signs up on West Street for a 190,000 square foot warehouse. High bay, class A warehouse facility.
On what street?
West Street. I think it's the old,
Not the Spady line, just before 24?
I think that's what it is.
Somebody was
Down
doing
20,
something
so-
in there a long time ago, and then it went silent again.
Well,
There's
there's
a couple of big signs. one right at Manly and West, and then
Yeah.
one down in front of the entrance to get into there.
Well, years ago, they
Advertising space available.
paved the road parallel to 24th, going back.
Yeah, that's when they got shut down.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's still there, it's kind of eerie when you walk in.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that, people still, they're in there all the time.
Right.
All year long. Blueberries in there and probably run now, actually.
Yeah,
It's the blueberry
actually
bushes and
those
stuff
are
is-
up.
that's still in
Blueberries,
there.
raspberries, blackberries are up.
Yeah. But yeah, that whole area, I mean, that's, I don't know, it's gonna be a tough one for the traffic
Yeah.
going through there. But that's outside of our stuff, I think, right? We don't,
Just thinking about revenue coming into the town,
It
that's,
goes to the side.
yeah, I think
Well, the
that's,
town gets revenue. We
that
don't.
split tax rate is huge.
as long as these things keep coming. I mean, the nice thing is not a lot of water use,
Right,
Well,
good sprinkler fees.
we could use it just to, yeah, the fees.
yeah.
And other than traffic, and again, that one on on Elm Street and going into Bridgewater, there's a lot of traffic in and out of that place.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Never
all
mind,
traffic.
never mind well, even decent, there's big trucks come in, I think, at night mostly, they
Yeah.
keep it off, but there's a lot of vehicles in that thing all day long. We go by that quite a bit. So, see what happens when they start running. I mean, I know the one behind the mobile station, probably not, because that's just one company, I think, in there. The one across from the
That's a
street
small
plant.
building, that's only like
Yeah, it's
5,000.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're, so they do movie sets.
Yeah.
So they
movie
don't,
sets
I mean,
and-
they have just small trucks, they're not big trucks coming
Yeah.
and going.
See what happens, we're gonna have a lot of those places around.
Well, in 5 years, there'll be vacant buildings, so they.
Well, they're all built on speculation. Like the
Yeah.
one in Bridgewater is still empty, the
There's
one
a
in East
lot.
Bridgewater is empty, they're all empty.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that big one on 28's got nothing in it.
Yeah.
The one on 138 in Easton, I don't think is
No.
Well,
anything
Harvey
scheduled.
Harvey Enterprises, Harvey Industries is moving up to one in Easton, right? They're moving out of Manley Street.
Haven't heard.
I think they're moving out of Manley Street and they're moving to that one on 138.
Well, that's
in
the old tire place. They
Yeah, the old
moved-
Sullivan Tire.
They moved down into Easton.
Yeah.
Yeah, on that side.
Yeah.
Where the golf thing or,
Okay, so they are moving into that.
yeah, they did move.
I think they moved with
Yeah.
the golf.
I can't think
that
of
was
the
the
name
just
of
opened.
the building supply.
Harvey Industries.
Well, that's not the name.
No, Beacon Sales.
Yeah,
Beacon.
that's it.
Right. Moving along, old business, the,
Car wash.
Yeah,
440
well-
West Center Street, the car.
oh. You know what, I got that one mixed up with 406 West Center. They're doing too many things on the same roads. 440 West Center, car wash.
Yeah, they're going in. They've requested a 3-inch pipe, so they're gonna get a 4-inch stub reduced down. So, yeah, they're moving forward. They didn't go away.
Can't sell them the 4-inch?
No, they didn't. They spec for a 3, which is an oddball pipe. It exists, I think, in copper pipe size, not in any other real sizes.
3-inch? 3-inch not allowed to sell.
No, copper service.
Copper service.
Yeah, well, they're coming in,
They're not using ductile?
no, they're going in with ductile, but then they're they're reducing down to 3-inch. They only want a 3-inch stub. But the contractor, you can't get 3-inch pipe ductiles,
It's an odd size? 3-inch ductile is an odd size?
oh yeah,
They can use it through, because they recycle that water.
right,
Through the
most
car
of
washes.
it's, yeah, they're not gonna,
Why
yeah.
do they need such a big,
I don't know, because they don't have any space, pretty much, I mean, I have the drawing if you want to see
Yeah.
it, but it's, yeah, so you go to the car wash and then you, pretty much, you're washing your car, and the rinse water is recycled. Let's see it. So that's good, I guess, that's a better one. Yeah, it's the original conditions.
This is just a donation.
yeah,
Yeah, you can pretty much stay up in lot A, I think.
See,
They could be blasting, because the house they're taking down, the yellow one,
yeah.
in his basement is a piece of the rock. Yeah, it's like a giant rock, half the basement, if not better.
Water line, something, right? Is there anything? No, that's the water line in the street, I think they call it that, which is not even showing on this.
They don't show it?
Yeah.
I think they showed it on 5.
Show the hydrant. Yeah, this is just.
Look at number 5. I was looking at it before.
Number,
Yep, in that packet there, no?
this one. So this one is, yep, this is it. This is the bigger one. The more colorful one.
The way that traffic's gonna be when all the work gets done on the intersection, everything else, no one's gonna be able to get in and out of it anyway. No. They shouldn't, did they give us any kind of a water use projection or anything on that?
No.
I'm trying to think why they want such, because they're not sprinkling. They should be running it through a recycle tank and pumping it, not.
Alright, there's utilities. There is running off the, it's actually below, they're showing it, so they're not even,
I thought I
definitely
saw
right.
it.
So they're over here showing it, but these guys, they're not affecting that piece of the street. They're coming out of here and coming across and then up.
So they tapping off the old line, or?
Either that or they're gonna be told that their line's gonna be over here somewhere and they're gonna have to reroute it on their site. You know, I didn't see anything out of Lincoln Street project for a plan, but I know that they're not working down there, they're working up here.
Septic up by the road.
Yeah, they've got
Multiple tanks for the
clarified
recycle.
aeration, biological,
Biological tank, tank clarifier, clean water.
it's like its own
aeration
little
tank.
waste treatment plant.
Yeah, it looks it. Good thing they're not.
Good luck, all on top of that rock.
Kind of
I'm
small.
I'm curious why they need such a big,
It's probably whatever the minimum spec from the, because this is a franchise, isn't it?
Yeah,
So that's probably why, it's a minimum spec from the franchisee, that for a franchise, you need a 3-inch minimum line. I mean, it's only, it's a small building,
right, it's,
38 by what, 125,
yeah,
so
it's a one.
4,000 square feet, 5,000 square feet?
yeah, but that'd give an awful big rate of flow that they'd be pulling at once out of the 3.
Right.
Or something that they should be realistically using.
Right, they don't have any way to get rid of it, it's, there's no waste treatment there, there's nothing.
No, it's just, well, that's their treatment.
Yeah.
They treat it and they recycle it.
So maybe when they fill up, and then that'll be it, they'll be treating after that. Except for whatever drives out on the tires.
Yeah, I mean, you'd have to have some makeup sometimes,
Right.
but, I mean, that's,
Any Title 5 regulations on
that doesn't discharge to the ground. That's a closed
it?
system.
Even though all these
Right.
tanks are somewhat,
That, that's a closed system that just basically recycles. Goes through settling a cup through 3 tanks, gets aerated, water comes out clear, goes through their biological tank, and then they're pumping it. In fact, they should have a pump, some kind of a pump unit in there
Yeah,
to send it back. That's probably coming out of the last tank in the line. But that's what it's,
Hmm.
'cause yeah, otherwise with septic, you can't get rid of that water.
yeah, they've got 3 settling tanks for aeration.
Yeah.
plus all these green trees out here, that's sensitive.
Yeah, that's,
Where's that pond? Can't be that far away.
that's actually outside of the zone too. We don't
Yeah,
have- we don't
this
have-
one is
As far as that, what goes in there won't recharge our stuff. But
Right.
we would like to know how much they're gonna draw at a time.
Did the guy across the street ever put his tie-ins in?
So he got a price and he didn't like the price. So he's gonna wait and knows that eventually he can reach out either into Crescent or wherever and get, whatever he's gonna build probably won't require much bigger than a 4-inch. So in that, he could go into Crescent Street, he just has to be
Pull up
beyond the
there.
limit of work.
Right, unlimited on Crescent Street.
Right.
Eventually.
All right. Thanks, Mike.
He was hoping that he would get it for free since they're gonna take some of his land.
Yeah, they probably not in the business of giving stuff away.
No.
If you have a contact, you can just throw a little question out there as to how much water they think they're gonna be using.
I can find, I'll look back through my emails.
See if there's something.
Yeah.
Again, just out of curiosity, I mean, where they're gonna be tapping, it's not like we won't have plenty there, it just seems
Right.
kinda unusual. Anything else on the car wash?
No, nothing that. falls
Before I
under-
move on to something else again that we haven't covered, we've got, no, it's all the new business, right?
It is.
All right. Okay, old business, there's nothing on 0 Matfield Street, it's gone silent, haven't heard anything in a while. We have covered the Tater and Howard, we talked about Walnut Street tank, although did you?
I have not rented, I've gotta go in and measure. We do have an account with Bonnie's now, so I can.
All right, so you
rental
can
it.
just, okay. Okay, water rates, we should have something for the next meeting. Communications Committee.
We met once since the last time we met, and they started the preliminary design of the new website, and they sent over what they have so far. It's looking good. It's a lot lighter and brighter and
Yeah.
easier to use so far.
So far?
So far, so good.
Yeah, because I have troubles finding stuff on our existing.
Oh, the existing one's tough.
Yeah.
Like, every time I go and try to come up with something.
The existing one's 15 years old,
Yeah.
and we only are allowed to have so many menu items on there.
Yeah.
So over the years, as more things got added, they just got crammed in there.
Right.
And now this new website's gonna have a lot more drop downs and
Yeah.
Be more functional.
be more functional.
All right. So now we need a motion to go into executive session.
I'll make a motion that we go into executive session and that when I'll make a motion that we go into executive session. And that when we come out of executive session, the meeting is
Not to return to open session.
ready.
Not to return to open
That,
session.
that proper language.
Second.
In favor?
All right.